This
Ready.
conference will now be recorded.
Help,
What?
help, help!
Help! It's taking over.
You didn't send in a waiver, so I need to go talk to my lawyer before I can
Excuse me.
record it.
You
You were given your warning. It's too bad. All right. Are we ready?
I have my emotional support dice right here.
Nice. Nice, nice.
The first is going to be a little bit of preaching from me, so everyone simmer down.
I'm a down.
Simmer
The time
teens.
is approximately 18 years before the events of A New Hope. The rise of the Empire has begun. The Galactic Republic is no more, and Emperor Palpatine has stepped through its ashes as the Supreme Leader with Darth Vader at his side. Already possessing full power in the Senate as the Supreme Chancellor with full emergency powers, he disbands the Senate and denounces the Jedi as traitors to the galaxy, having them systematically hunted down and killed. The self-appointed Emperor has taken residence in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and continues to work and operate from the Senate building. Immediately after the fall of the Republic, massive government-sponsored mining and manufacturing operations begin to crop up all around the galaxy, as if in preparation for something massive to come. The entire galaxy is uneasy with this change in leadership and has their own opinions, though it is undeniable that with the conclusion of the Clone Wars, the galaxy is a lot more quiet. And yet, murmurings of unrest have already been heard. Seeds of a rebellion have been planted with roots spreading throughout the outer rim, with support growing every passing moment. The luscious green leaves of growth are few and far between, but still clear and ever prevalent. This is a rebellion in the making. They can be found where the Empire displays its injustice, where those who remember the time of peace and prosperity before the Clone Wars began, and where are those who long to lift the shrouded veil of the dark side to create a new dawn.
Ooh, Neil.
I thought for sure I would be able to pause the music by the time you were done, but I definitely did not time that correctly.
We turn our sights to the outer rim world of Savareen. Only a few parsecs from Tatooine, Savareen's landscape is harshly contrasting between endless deserts and boundless seas. We pick up at one of the few spaceport towns on the planet near the Narcotic Coast, wherein a dim, rowdy cantina. Looking through the door, dead ahead, the bartender lazily serves what appears to be orange syrup to several patrons, who take a cupful like a shot to the faint sound of the radio playing a familiar tune. At the far end, there's a dance table where a dealer is throwing for two angry-looking Rhodians. Directly to the right is a vendor droid peddling his wares with everything from Savareen silver, a poison of choice for unwanted womp rats, to middle-class starships repossessed from the planet's less fortunate. Directly to the left is the bounty wall with several faces plastered to it, worth varying amounts of credits. Further back to the left, seated at a large table intended for a party of 12, 5 unlikely companions meet for the first time. The first to have taken a seat was Plo Koor. All right, that's you, Adam. I added the last name.
Koor?
Koor, yeah.
Okay, Plo Koor, that's me. So I do my introduction now?
Yep, go ahead and do your introduction, read your, or tell us about your character, and read some of your background details as well, and we'll work together on fleshing it out a bit.
All right, so my name is Plo Koor. I'm of the Keldor species. This is what I look like. If I can, put towards
Nice.
the camera.
All right.
Nice, nice.
Ooh,
I don't know the name of my home world, but I know that I have to wear that mask around my face when I'm not on my home planet, so I can breathe, which is always a good thing. But the Keldor are a pretty simple folk with pretty stark contrast between right and wrong. We never turn away people in need, but at the same time, we believe in swift justice. So I'm a scout, kind of bounty hunter type character who is kind of like a traveling vigilante, helping anyone that is in need that can't defend themselves. But at the same time, that means I'm always on the run as a result of the people that I kind of fight against and defend the people against. So think like Jabba the Hutt and any other like type of gangsters. So like I said before, I'm a scout. I have a base strength of 15, which I think is pretty good. But I can say
You
pretty
don't need to read
high.
the stats right now. Just looking for some background information.
I am 50 years old, which is kind of like a young adult for my species. I'm a male. I'm 6'5", 300 pounds.
That
I
matters.
have orange skin. And that's all you need to know. That's it.
All right, so I do have some questions.
Travel alone?
What's that, Alex?
Travel alone, buddy?
Yeah, I'm a lone wolf.
That's sick.
What happened? What made you happen in your life that made you turn to that vigilantism?
When the Empire took over, my family was murdered by the Empire and their stormtroopers. So I don't actually have any place to call home. That's why I kind of just wander from planet to planet, helping out who I can, trying to, like, I see in other people the helpless people that on my planet that I wasn't able to save. So that's why I go and do what I do.
Are you vengeful or just more of wanting to help the people in need?
It's a little bit of both. It's not, the Keldor aren't very vengeful people, but I think subconsciously when I see people in need and I see people oppressing them, I kind of like project my people's plight onto them. Well, it's not like a sinister vengefulness. It's kind of like subconsciously thinking about my people.
So is your vengeance self-centered or other person-centered?
I think my character likes to think that it's other person centered, but it's actually self-centered. He's trying to fill a void in his life because he has no one else. He has no family. He has nowhere else to go. So he likes to think that he's doing it for other people, but it's actually a selfish endeavor just to give himself purpose.
So he's trying to prove something then? Is that, do you feel like your character is trying to?
He's trying to prove something, trying to have a purpose. So when he has a chance to join something greater than himself, he jumps on it. He thinks of himself as a lone wolf before, but given that he can give himself a purpose, he'll take it.
Did you have any family or have any like children or married or anything, or was it just people around you that were killed?
It was like his nuclear family, like his parents, his siblings. He wasn't married.
Yeah. So I guess it's pretty easy how your character. What does your character think of the Force?
He's a little bit skeptical of it. He hasn't really come across it too often. He thinks of the Empire as just like stormtroopers, and he doesn't actually think of it as like Sith users.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of like, I don't want to say he's as skeptical as Han Solo was in the original trilogy, but he hasn't really come across it enough to have an actual opinion on it.
Where did you learn or train your abilities?
It was trial by fire. When the Empire came, he was able to escape and hide for as long as he could. But then once they left a couple of galactic stormtroopers on his planet as guards, he like had to fend for himself and just learn from trial by fire.
How do you feel about the Hutts?
What's that, Alex?
How do you feel about the Hutts?
Well, fuck them.
Fuck 'em.
I guess. Let's just say he has come across a couple of Hutt's bounty hunters, who for the most part are kind of shitty people and after money. And he's never met a Hutt in person, but just their reputation as being oppressive, he doesn't like that very much.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Did everybody ask questions of him?
Yeah.
I'm just putting in.
Yeah, no, that's good. That was the point. It just kind of made people think about who their character is. So if we're good, I'm going to move on to the next one. The next person to sit down on the opposite end of the table is Kier Ja'ad.
Yeah. So, hello, that's me.
Chad.
I'm a Duros
from the Outer Rim region, 18 years old, so a young adult, 6'3", 160. Shrimp. Purple eyes and blue
Wait, what are
skin.
you, where are you from? Montclair Mori?
The Outer Rim, Medeiros.
Okay.
He's a Jedi. He was kicked out after his parents, who are scoundrels, his whole family are scoundrels, and he decided to go with a Jedi, and he's been kicked out from his home planet.
So he joined the Jedi Council, or
Yeah,
not Council, but he joined the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Love it, love it.
First question: how did he escape Order 66? How did he
It was
survive?
after.
There was no Jedi Order after Order 66.
So
Happens, Ryan, because I hadn't actually considered that. Jedi.
yeah, so I'm thinking along, and I don't know if anyone has watched the Star Wars Rebels, but it's very similar to the story that you presented, Alex, which is a master that basically went into hiding, very similar to what Obi-Wan Kenobi would have done. Went into hiding and then met a Force wielder, someone that has the ability, midichlorians, I guess, has midichlorians. And yeah, exactly, a Force sensitive, and cultivated that and trained them. So it could, Jason, in your situation, it's more likely that your person felt that or started developing it on their own. So you're you're more likely self-taught because there probably wasn't anyone around you that had that ability. So you're kind of, as I said, self-taught a little bit. And I think I put detail, I don't remember if I put a detail in yours or not, but I do have one detail that I added to your story. The lightsaber Kier wields is one that has been in his family for generations and was a relic of the Old Republic and a symbol of his family's power, as it was obtained when one of them hunted and killed a Jedi and was never caught. Kier was overwhelmingly sad, Kier has overwhelmingly sad and guilty feelings as he can feel shards of the previous wielder still attached and hears the cries of agony as his ancestor cleaved his limbs from his body. Assembling a new lightsaber and returning this one to its master's resting place will bring mental and emotional balance to this young and little unstable Jedi.
Shit.
Okay,
Love
I like
it,
that.
love it. Continue, Jason, please.
He's a very blurred line of what's right and wrong, since he wasn't really trained from a proper Jedi. He was more self-taught, so he's kind of a rogue Jedi. He kind of just fucks shit up whenever he wants.
Nice.
18, young adult.
So it sounds like he's another Jedi to kind of teach him. Maybe.
I am not learning from a Gungan.
Yeah. Okay.
So was it mostly book learning that you learned the ways of the Force from?
What?
Did you learn forcing from the books, or did you learn it from just skewering womp rats or something?
Basically just skewering womp rats. You could like kind of feel, like Rye said from the previous owner, you could kind of feel it through the lightsaber, but
Nice.
Wildly, it's probably pretty wild with his abilities and very uncontrolled, if I had to guess. So we kind of already know your parents' background. Did you have any siblings?
yeah, they were 2 older siblings. They were both scoundrels, just like their
Okay.
parents.
All right.
Which you really
How old were you when you started this? And at what point did you decide that you needed to separate yourselves from your family?
This actually wasn't my choice. My parents decided that I was getting kicked out because I didn't want to be a scoundrel, so they sent me off in my starship and never saw him again.
just a little pat on the ass, get out of here.
Yeah.
How does your character feel about the Empire?
He knows it's wrong. They bring up solid points, but at the end he knows that what they're doing is wrong.
So how do you visualize the Force, and what's your relationship with it?
That's a good question, and I'll get back to you.
Think about it.
Jesus, Alex.
Well, realistically, you're answering the question yourself. Your character is confused by it and has no fucking clue what the ability is.
Right. You're like really like excited by your abilities, but
Knows
also
its
like your
power.
family and everybody you know is not okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know the extent
No,
of
that's
it.
exactly
my
Prodigy? How
Exactly
are
what
you
I was
like doing so well with the Force? Are you a prodigy, like a Force user, like
Well,
Jedi?
who said he was doing well with the Force? He just said he
Yeah.
like knew he was aware of it, but he's not necessarily.
Yeah.
He doesn't know the extent of it yet.
All I know
Well,
is that I
because everybody around him is like not cool with it and like,
Mhm.
wow, pretentious asshole, this guy, like what?
Yes.
Probably pretty high risk for, he's probably
Right,
in that gray Jedi area because he's probably pretty high risk for going good, or for going bad
Right.
without some proper guidance.
Well, I mean, his family probably doesn't want to attract the attention of the Empire. That's why they probably sent him. on
That's
the
true
Jedi.
too. Yeah. All right. Moving forth, splitting the two down the middle. Gonzoro the Wookiee momentarily draws the attention of the entire cantina due to his massive size. As he sits, it is business as usual.
What's his name?
Gonzoro.
Gonzoro.
That's amazing.
Yes.
do the Wookiee voice, Mike, please.
Oh, that's my best. So, Gonzoro is a male, 290 years old, which is like reaching kind of like middle aged for a Wookiee. He's 2.8 meters tall. He's black, and he has blue eyes.
Oh, hey!
He's African American, and he has. So,
He's a Wookiee
African
cowboy.
Kashyyykian.
Yeah.
Gonzoro grew up having a normal life. When he got older, Gonzoro fell in love, married, having 3 children with his wife, Katarwa.
Pimp.
Gonzoro had always been large for a Wookiee and wanted to use his size for good, so he became a Kashyyyk soldier, which is the home planet of Wookiees.
I know.
Gonzoro proved that he was an extremely strong and loyal soldier, becoming one of the greatest assets to the Kashyyyk army. Near the end of the Clone Wars, Gonzoro's home village was on Kashyyyk, and it was attacked by the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Gonzoro was off on another mission, but rushed back to his home as soon as he heard the village was under attack. When Gonzoro finally arrived, it was too late. His whole village slaughtered, including his wife and children. Devastated by his findings, Gonzoro leaves in search of a new place he can call home. So basically, he is a soldier that he was a big guy and he thought he was doing the right thing the whole time. He was in the army, he was fighting, he was taking lives. He was good at it though. He ended up going pretty high up in the army. But as soon as he found out everybody he had loved had died, he chose the path of creation rather than destruction. And the burden,
What do you?
The opposite of that.
he wanted to start a new
He
village.
just fucks a lot of
He's
bitches,
trying
I
no,
guess.
he's trying to start over. He's trying to rebuild because after
Did he denounce violence?
wars-
Is he pacifist now, or?
No, he's not a pacifist. No, it's
He's just really fucking angry.
yeah.
So
So Wookiees are naturally short-tempered, but they're also very loyal. And the fact that he abandoned the army to he
That's a lot.
He had a whole new it hit him hard when his
Mhm.
family and village had died, and he figured rather than going out and trying to stop other people, why not take a new route and rebuild? And he wanted to start a new village. He wanted to rebuild what his ancestors had built in the first place. But
What a
the
guy.
fact that he had left the army, because Wookiees are loyal, it really tore him apart, and he's it's
So
weighing
he's
him down
wanted now for abandoning the army. He's wanted.
I couldn't find
No,
certain. I couldn't find
all the
certain
Wookiees have been
rules.
enslaved now. So
Okay.
after the Confederate attack, all the Wookiees have been enslaved,
Right.
either murdered or enslaved. I do have some additional details here, Mike. So all of my additional details are also potential future adventures. So just keep these in mind. The overwhelming guilt Gonzoro has for not being present at the time of the Confederacy attack has led him to dedicate his life to helping his people become free. There are pockets of Wookiee slaves all across the galaxy doing the bidding of wicked slave masters. Most were separated by sex, so they did not have the ability to procreate, and kept in packs of less than 5 so as not to give them the ability to overpower the masters. Gonzoro knows the location of at least one major mining colony that mines the raw metal for newly minted stormtrooper army with at least 2,000 Wookiee slaves spread across at least 2 moons.
So did they make
Yeah, that
chests?
sounds great.
And I have one more little one in here as well. At home with his fists as much as a blaster, however, as a traditional wedding gift, his wife had given him an intricately designed bowcaster with a strap woven 1,000 times over with her own hair. When he had returned to Kashyyyk, his ship had been shot down and he lost it. As far as he knows, Kashyyyk is now nearly deserted of the carnage of years past and a few logging compounds for the furniture companies of Coruscant's rich and famous.
Yeah, I like all of it.
Yep. Except that's probably some expensive ass wood.
Yeah. That's ass wood.
Yeah, expensive ass wood. All right, let me go back over, see if there's any other questions I have here.
Where do you fall on the spectrum of stability to chaos, Mike?
What do you mean by that?
What do you value more, the strength of your fists or striving to make a new home for your family?
So he's going through a big change right now. And initially I'll get back to your point, but initially I didn't want him to be a soldier. I wanted him to be a scout, but like he's more trained as a soldier. Like that is what he knows.
Mm-hmm.
But he's trying to adopt this new lifestyle. And so he is way more of a soldier than anything, but he's trying to change his ways.
How does your character feel about the Empire?
More. Sorry, what?
How does he feel about the Empire?
He does not like the Empire. Not at all. He fought in the Clone Wars. So
That's true. What does he think about the Force, or does he even know of the existence of it?
he does know of the existence of it. He has seen it before, and it's a spectacle to him. He definitely knows it exists, and I would say he's almost scared of it because Wookiees are powerful creatures. And if it weren't for the Force, like they would be some of the most powerful creatures. Like they're big, brawny, like I mean, yes, they're intelligent too, but like the Force scares them because they are strong creatures, but he's well aware that he could be defeated by the Force. So he is
Do you think he has any enemies?
He's skittish.
Does he have any enemies? Yeah, I don't know much about the detail, but he was pretty highly ranked in the army.
Okay. So he
And
could
so I'm
potentially
sure
have some-
anybody who was involved on the Sith side, they would know of him. And
All right.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything? I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, I like that character a lot.
thank you.
All right. Okay, so you're gonna have to help me with the pronunciation here. I have Ayan.
Ein Vita.
Ein.
Fine.
All right. Ein Vita sits down near Plo as she deems him to be the most civilized and likely to have money to buy something.
Girls. Yeah. Okay, so Ein Vita is a Twi'lek, and if for those who don't know, Bib Fortuna with the long tentacles wrapped around the neck.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Or
Twi'lek.
the girl from Clone Wars.
I don't know.
Yeah, sure. So she was born on the planet of Ryloth, which is in the Outer Rim. It is what it is. And her family was very successful in the spice trade, specifically rice, because that is what is on the planet Ryloth. And so the planet, like Twi'leks are, a lot of them have a lot of a lot of Twi'leks have, I can't think of the word, but they're really good with the Force. And so like her brothers were like really good with the Force. And so the Sith, the Imperial ships will like come regularly to the planet to like recruit. And it's like a whole big thing. No parent wants it to happen because they literally just take children with like real good aptitude. That's the word, aptitude for the Force. And they just take them away from the parents. And it's a real problem. It's a real problem. So Einvita, my girl, it just happens one day. The Imperial ships are coming, and they come for her family because her brothers have good aptitude for the Force, and so they take her brothers. There's a Sith Lord and his apprentice, and her parents are really like trying to fight because like again they
This
just
is
take like the
partially why I
kids.
modified yours because
Yeah, I
just
saw that.
just to fit the timeline.
That's fine. That's fine. I didn't know the timeline, so I just went
I
with
know.
whatever.
That's fine.
But yeah, so her brothers are taken, and the Sith Lord and his apprentice kill her parents because they're like really trying to fight for the kids because again they're just taking kids away willy-nilly. And so like that's like a real big goal of hers. She really wants justice because the Galactic Alliance previously had like disallowed this to happen. Like it was a whole thing against the Galactic Alliance and the Sith. Like you can't just go and take kids. And so there was a whole thing. And so her parents are dead, blah, blah, blah. She has spice left over, and like that's what she has to trade. And so she uses that to get on a merchant ship. She like makes her way here and there. She becomes like a pretty good like droid broker, because that's like a big thing in the Outer Rim. And anyway, she works her way up, and she becomes like a very assistant to a senator in the Galactic Alliance. But so she's just like very on the edge, but she still feels like she's a part of the Galactic Alliance, and that was her goal in the end, is to make a difference. But also she's like very.
Before we interject any questions, I'm just gonna throw in some of the updates that I had on yours case.
Yeah, I was trying to read them, but I couldn't remember it when I was talking.
You're good. You're good. So when she was 16, Imperial ship came to Ryloth on a regular Empire recruiting raid. She obeyed her parents and hid in the tunnels of the cave along with her siblings, but they were traveling with a Sith Inquisitor who could sense them. As their sons were dragged away to the Imperial ship, the parents offered food, medicine, and real spice to the Inquisitor, hoping his background as a Jedi would make him less hardened to the darkness of the Sith. Instead, she watched as the Dark Jedi slayed her parents, an unnecessary born from the teeming hatred now coursing through his veins. Following the death of her parents, left to fend for herself, I think everything else she kind of, let me just make sure there's nothing else in here. Sullust, yep. Quickly gained knowledge. Corporate empires ruled the trading planet. Sense of knowledge on trading and negotiating. Managed to secure a job as a high-ranking droid broker. Despises and distrusts all. I added that she did, because of her experience with the Dark Jedi, she despises and distrusts all Force users because of what happened to her parents.
Yes, actually.
With background in spice, her clan of Twi'leks gained a poor reputation among many of the people in the Outer Rim colonies that did not support the trade and consumption of spice. Each new world she is on presents an element of potential danger.
Love it, love it, love it.
Would you say, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have two, actually I have a couple bonus ones here, so let me read these potential adventures. Constantly seeking vengeance for her family and clan, and with her new position as a droid broker, she's always on the lookout for assassin droids that can be reprogrammed to hunt down Inquisitors. She has heard murmurings that there was an abandoned stockpile on Geonosis.
Love it.
As a droid broker working for a company that is galaxy-wide, she has the opportunity to interact with some high-ranking officers in the Empire to organize sales. There is a big potential sale outstanding, and she is meeting up with none other than a Moff of the Empire to secure a massive shipment of mouse droids for a project they are working on. And last one,
Cool.
her ultimate goal is gaining enough notoriety reaching Coruscant and making a case directly to the Empire himself about the Inquisitor that killed her parents with the hope that he will bring him to justice himself.
Love it. Yes.
Cool.
Love it.
All right,
Mike,
question
ask your
away.
question, and I've got one for her.
What's your class?
Noble.
Noble. So
what really, she sees herself as a noble, which is just like a person, she wants to be a part of the Galactic Alliance. So she sees herself as a noble and she's kind of still working her way up there. So she's like higher ranking than a lot of her peers because a lot of Twi'leks are scoundrels because they like to just deal in the dark, but she's just really trying to get justice. So she sees herself as a noble. She might not be there yet, but that's the goal.
it's like you and Jason's characters are going through the same thing.
Except I hate Jedi.
Well, yeah, because they're scoundrels, and he's trying to not be. I mean, both of you. Jason, what's your class again?
Jedi.
Okay, yeah.
Jedi.
What are you
So,
just
Case,
Huh?
what is your character probably has mixed feelings about the Empire because she feels like that's the only way for her to get this true justice because she doesn't have the power to kill a Jedi.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so
And then-
she has great respect for the Empire, but at the same time, like, she still distrusts them because she feels like she doesn't have any power and they have all the power, and she's still really trying to build her way up to like she's trying to be with the Empire, but she still distrusts them.
Yeah.
So
Does she
it
follow
sounds like
power?
your role as a diplomat gives you kind of an equal view of both the light side and the dark side, and being basically the only like charismatic one in the group of 4 like muscle-bound hunks. What do you see as the interaction between the light side and the dark side? Maybe too strong a word.
No, that's fine. So I have a lot of distrust for the dark side because, you know, there were raids on my planet, and so like she doesn't trust the dark side, but at the same time, her brothers, let's say there are 3, are all like apprentices in the Sith. So she can't completely hate them because she still has a love for her family. Like Twi'leks are very loyal to their family, and so she can't hate the Sith, she can't hate the dark side because she knows people that are there, and so she's very conflicted.
Does she know if her brothers are still alive or where they are? Does she still have contact with them?
She's not in contact with them. She assumes they're alive because they did have they were very strong with the Force, and she has some aptitude for the Force, but it wasn't as much as her brothers, and that's why the Sith didn't take her as well.
Okay.
Have you had any positive interactions with the forces of good or the light side, or any bad encounters?
There hasn't been any good or bad, really. There's just been the Sith. Honestly, that's her only interaction with the Force. Like, she knows that the Force can be used for good because her siblings did have aptitude for it. So, you know, they've, you know, played games using the Force and stuff like that. And but that's when, you know, the Imperial ships came and they took her brothers. So she doesn't dislike the Force itself, but she's afraid of it, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So can I ask you something, Ryan?
Yeah.
Is it Sidious right now? Is it like Sidious and Vader right now, who's in control?
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Man,
This takes place a few years before A New Hope. Basically, right after Luke Skywalker is born, right after Emperor Palpatine declares himself Emperor, disbands the Galactic Alliance.
First order of business, kill Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
So it's just Ben, Darth Vader, and Darth Sidious, right? Those are the 3 Force users right now. Are there any other? I mean, there's like Jason, obviously, but like, do you see that?
There won't be any primary ones, right? We'll move on to to Alex's as well, and because he actually has a a couple different people to introduce. Lastly comes in Fasavu, who takes a seat directly next to Gonzoro and seems completely oblivious to the Wookiee's gigantic stature.
I mean, I told him he knows Force users are stronger than him.
Meet the Fasa. Oh, sorry. Something in my throat here. So physically, what you would see is about a 6'1" Gungan person with eye color gray, skin color of an earthy brown. I actually have a official character art. This is what he looks like.
Love it. Love it.
Is that a
That is
yellow
not-
saber?
That is not the current saber I'm wielding. That's what I'll get if I'm level 7. But
Okay.
Level 7 laser lotus.
I gotta start phrasing my sperm. But to understand my backstory, you have to know that in a isolated version, on an isolated area of Naboo, there was sort of a localized civil war between the Hutts and the native Gungans, and it sort of went back and forth for quite a while before the Hutts started to gain the upper hand and started demanding tributes of younglings from the Gungans. And they specifically wanted to root out those with aptitude for Force, for using the Force. They would use some Fioran enforcers to sort of keep us under their heel, and not much is known. I can't really. It's not that nothing much happened during my childhood, but I may have blocked out some parts of my childhood because I lived under a very heavy Fioran boot. But I was noticed as having an aptitude for the Force after 10. It was like from 10 to about 14. They said, "Oh, this guy's got maybe some skills." What they did after they took me as tribute was they trained me in a compound with a bunch of other.
Wait, sorry. Whom?
What part?
The Hutts?
Yes, the Hutts were the masterminds behind this whole thing, but they were using sort of the Fiorans as foot soldiers. But I don't know how many people watch The Mandalorian, but I'm thinking it's sort of like a group of foundlings. They kind of just took whichever Force-sensitive races they could find and sort of trained them the Force using a social structure that I haven't really thought out yet. But I had a master. His name was Modi, and he was a Rhodian. We were both sort of disaffected with the system. I mean, I got my schooling in the Force with at least some kind of structure, but I sort of visualized, maybe some deep down part of me sees the Force as sort of some authoritarian force to keep others under their boot, but deep down, I don't want that to be the case, and maybe there's some sort of spark within me that knows that the Force can be used for good.
You think it's like a godly power then? Like it's almost like a higher power that like.
I wouldn't attribute these powers to a divine source, but I would think this is sort of a kind of life source that all sentient species kind of share and should be respected. Sort of like
you're just not okay with maybe like the structure of it.
The use of that.
Not necessarily the fact that the power itself is used authoritatively was how it was taught that was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
What does Fasa think of the Empire? He hasn't had much interaction with it up to.
Let me just hold that question for the end, but I've got a little bit more.
Yeah, no, continue. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was 17 when I escaped the Hutt yoke on my first mission as a full-fledged Jedi. So Madi and I were sent out to sort of root out or sort of chase down smugglers who would cross this particular hut. And it was like, okay, go hunt these down, bring them back to me dead or alive. We were sort of used as bounty hunters. But we sort of met these smugglers, and maybe through some kind of comedic Russian standoff, with each of us holding blasters and our swords just at each other, we sort of realized that we had common ground with them, and we sort of traveled with these smugglers on their ship that was called the Minoc. And I guess the Hutts kind of were keeping tabs on us because they wanted to know if we would defect, that they could bring us back into line very quickly. So they sent sort of bounty hunters to catch the bounty hunters, and they slaughtered everybody on the Minoc, but Mahdi saved my life by when we didn't report back to Cabra the Hutt, he sent out kill squads to eliminate us. In the ensuing conflict, the bounty hunters killed everyone in the Minoc down to the droids. I would have died too if Mahdi hadn't hidden me away with an Salamir to keep any Force sensitives from detecting my Force aura, which is he basically locked me in a cupboard with an iguana that sort of suppressed my Force powers, so nobody could detect me. And I basically got out and started my trek around the galaxy. Hi, Dad. Hello.
What is your, so I go back to my question, what does Fasa think of the Empire?
As a general rule, I dislike anybody who uses their position of power as a means of control. Mm-hmm. And if the use of power should be used to help, not to enslave or to shouldn't be used for bad. So,
do you know anything about your parents or siblings?
I work on my childhood as one long traumatic experience, and I can't really remember.
You gotta go to yours.
As an extension of the question about the Empire, how do you feel about the Jedi Order itself?
Cox.
I think I had experienced a very perverted form of it, and I guess it wouldn't even occur to me that there would be a good version of what I experienced. So if I knew anything about the Jedi Order, I would be all for it, because it would be a better way of teaching kids the Force, and not like how I had learned.
So would you join it? Like, would you join it, or do you feel like you're past the point where in the Jedi Order are you?
Well, he's unaware of it, I think, right? You're unaware of it.
Jedi Order doesn't exist.
Oh, I am a newly fledgling Jedi. I am 16, I think. I'm very, very young and getting out.
I think we had discussed that you're kind of at the point of just getting past apprenticeship, or but you were in a kind of a sped up because of the situation. You didn't have much of a choice. You were kind of thrown out of your apprenticeship. So you're probably a newly printed knight that isn't quite up to par of what a knight would have really been considered at the time.
So just wait, in general though, like, are you wary of like structure? I guess that's my point. Like, as far as the Empire and also the like Jedi Order, like, are you wary of structure? Do you want to, like, I guess that's my question.
I have only experienced structure as a form of oppression.
Okay, so you are wary.
I am aware of structure, yes. But I sort of see structure as a tool, and whether or not it can be used for good or bad, it's just like really it can be used for an tool.
So what is your goal, Alex? Fasa?
I want to prove myself as a Jedi, and a part of that step is getting out and forging my own saber, maybe passing on my my own knowledge that I will pick up along the way to another Jedi. I see who he's pointing at. And
so quick question, Jace. Do you know? So you obviously knew of your master before what happened to you. Were you aware of like the entirety of the Jedi Order? Like, how much of the history of the Jedi Order? Do you think you're like alone? Did you think like you and your master were alone? How much of like the Jedi Order did you know
mean-
and understand?
Think of it as like you went to school with some people and you had like this mentor figure, and then you got like stranded on a foreign world, and you don't know where any of your classmates are, or because you know for sure that your mentor figure is dead.
But you
Like-
know that they exist. You know they're out
You're
there.
aware of it.
But
Okay.
I
Good.
have yet to. I think I imagined that my life was very small on Naboo, and then all of a sudden now it's galaxy wide, and I
Yeah.
feel very small in a dark and feeling universe.
All right. I'm going to read through some of my potential FASA adventures here. Being hunted by the Hutts as they see it, they should be able to reclaim him as their Jedi slave and should be able to subdue him into doing their bidding. FASA must either plead for his freedom, buy his freedom, or kill the leader of the Hutt cartel, Cabra, to remove the bounty from his head. The newly appointed Lord Vader has been using the Hutts and their army to finish what Order 66 started and wipe out additional Force sensitive. What Vader hasn't yet come to realize is that the Hutts are inbreeding their Jedi captives, creating physical abominations, combined races that weren't meant to mix. There is a moral dilemma on what to do with these bizarro Jedi, put them out of their misery or free them from enslavement. Since the escape attempt, FASA has learned that instead of killing his master Modi on the spot, they brought him back to the Hutts, where he has been used as a breeding stallion of sorts, as well as to train the new spawn. He is able to be held there simply by sheer numbers of Hutt sympathizers. Once sufficiently trained, he plans to rescue his former master.
So do
How
I?
should Gendoro be a part of this? He
What?
wants a
So-
piece of
Wants to be a stallion.
it. He wants to be Gendoro expresses interest in this trade. Can we start playing? Can Gendoro be a part of this?
The last bit. The Kyber crystal along with breeding Jedi, they're also manufacturing Kyber crystals. Crystal in his lightsaber is unstable, and since his escape has had the desire to find a pure Kyber crystal to build his own lightsaber.
Wow.
Can I speak on my we were basically given mass-produced handles with unstable crystals just shoved in there, and what I know about lightsabers is that it's the force of personality that determines the final color. But what you would see me.
I thought it was your rank in the Jedi Order that determined the color.
I thought it was your favorite color that determined the color.
Well, isn't like I feel like Jason's would be
I'm sorry,
white.
I'm sorry.
Isn't white like the neutral like rogue Jedi color?
Yeah, like you're somewhere in between, and the
Yeah.
yellow would be similar, and
Didn't Ahsoka have a white lightsaber in Rebels?
yes,
But,
you guys are yellow.
but what I'm currently wielding is a imperfect red lightsaber that has been diluted, so it's more of a pink than a red.
Red?
Pink.
Yes. Red, kind of goodness energy.
Wait, so Ryan,
That sounds cool.
so you're the dungeon
He
master.
doesn't play. No.
Galaxy Master.
Well, just so everybody knows, Mike and I did recently watch the community episode of D&D, so we're very well prepared.
Good.
Yes, the dickish.
Looking to be.
I just recently watched that too.
Shits on that one kid.
That's it, people. That's all I have. I just wanted to do character intros, and now I have a little bit more info also to build out some more potential adventures for Jason Adams' character.
Wait, do we pick our adventure, or do you choose the first adventure, or how do we?
What the GM does is basically he plays everybody else that isn't us, and he's the one that decides where the adventure goes. So
Like,
it's
like
basically
in the
reacting to his
so
role.
my my extent of D&D knowledge is from the community episode. In that
Same.
community episode, they did the layer of whatever that dragon was. So do we have
Yeah.
like a quest we're on to start, or what?
Like a
That's
layout.
What?
It's almost like video games, but what Ryan tells us the story, and then like we say how we walk.
I know.
So there is a goal,
I get that,
though.
But do we
Yes.
have
Yes.
a goal that we start with? Like what is our thing that we're starting with?
Well,
What's
so
our
that's
goal?
what I was giving you. So all of these potential adventures are ones that we can go on. When I first introed the cantina, I said there's this bounty board. So there's different bounties we can get.
We do have to pick
but-
them.
Yeah, so we just have to pick something. We're like, okay, I really want to free these 2,000 Wookiee slaves.
Okay.
This sort of thing.
So it's
Should we
basically
pick that tonight, or do we pick that when we first start playing?
Who has the worst backstory that we need to go through and save the
Okay.
people associated?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the word Vader when you were talking about mine, so I might be shitting myself right now.
Yeah.
Same. That
Well, there-
sounds very exciting.
So the overarching, there's always the overarching of what's actually happening in the
Yep.
universe. So
There's okay. So it's like so.
Side quest.
Side quests.
Yes. There's side quests.
Okay.
there's tons of side
There's
quests.
a main thing. I mean, I don't think any of us like the Sith army, right?
Right.
I'm
Well,
indifferent.
like, some of us are a little like when it comes to it, but I think our overall goal, like everybody doesn't like the Sith army, but like first we have to fix what they like fucked up in our personal life.
And we're pretty insignificant right now, the five of us compared to.
Yeah, for sure.
Speak
Not
for
much we
yourself.
I mean, I'm a noble, so I guess I'm a little more significant than you, but.
Sorry, my
You guys ever
character
read
is
those choose your own adventure books? It's kind of like that, but you just use the dice rolling to figure out whether or not your actions work, and
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
it's an interactive story that he's given.
So are we gonna have like another talk about leveling up and like the whole?
Eventually, yes, but he'll tell us when that happens. That's his
Better
job.
rename my character Hector the Well Endowed.
That's as much as I know about
My
this
character
game.
is Gonzalo.
I almost named my character Bing Bong or
Hey.
Mar.
Arr.
Well, you weren't kidding.
Would it help if we sort of oh, is he gone? Well, we could
For
like
you, Frozen.
we could say what each of us think about each other person in the party, because I would say that Flo,
Same.
I'd look at Flo and be like, I admire his individuality, and I like how he goes out on his own, but it's what I would like to do, but I know I'm not strong enough. And I think I would see a molding tool in Jason's character. Forgotten his name already.
You mold
And-
my
yeah.
tool.
For yours and like for Casey's and Alex's, I think. Like
do
Jason's character, just a novice Force user that learned it on his own. But then at the same time, you learned yours like through school. But like,
Right.
I feel like you're at the same level as him, but
Yeah,
you had an education and he learned his all on his own.
Be like, let's learn together. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I am. At first I was very oblivious of what was your Bobo the Clown. Your I was very I was oblivious to your big stature, but I think you would be a good example of big power and authoritarianism used good. Like
Yeah.
Frank.
Well, also, he's not around Force users a lot.
At all.
Like, I would consider
Well,
both you and Jason more powerful than I, but at the same time, he's not used to that. He's used to size and pure, like, brawniness, I guess.
Mike, do you want to team up and be my sidekick like Han Solo and Chewie? It's perfect.
I would do that. I mean, we'll see what happens. I ain't about to be the number 2, if that's what you're saying.
That was implied.
Fuck all you
Right,
Force
you're
users. I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Ryan's muted.
You're muted.
Muted. We can't see what you're saying.
I don't see.
Your lips are just moving.
Your lips are sealed.
Not to see.
Oh, that's the sealed. Yeah.
Guys, I'm
Now
going
can-
up north next weekend. I'm so excited.
My parents were just saying that. I'm so
Now can
like,
you hear me?
I know.
yes, we can hear you, right?
Oh, okay, good.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous just of lakes. Just of lakes. I just want to be able to go on a lake and stop it.
Have to do it. You let the cat catch it and I have to clean it
The
up.
last bit that I was going to add, my computer was literally shut down as I plugged it in, so annoying. Yeah, it really just depend on where we decide to go through the. I'll kind of reiterate at the beginning of the next one, just all of the my Galaxy introduction piece. I'll do that piece again, just so everyone can get another picture of where it is that we're at. Except you'll already know. You'll all already know each other.
You already know.
I'll already know. And then we can kind of decide from there what it is that we want to do. I have plenty of adventures built out, but yes, as I was saying, the overarching of what's going on in the primary galaxy is still there, very prevalent. We can't affect the outcome of. I'm keeping us within the bounds of what happens in canon, so we can't like just go
So we
kill
can?
Darth Vader. Huh?
Oh, damn it. Okay, we can't.
We can't just go kill Darth Vader. We can't just kill the Emperor.
We can.
You can go fight them. You can go have an interaction with them, but basically the difficulty level is going to be so high that it's going to be impossible
I
to
say
kill them.
can or can't.
That'd
Can't.
take a while.
You will not be able to.
Damn.
You
Okay,
will
so
not be able to change the outcome of what happened in
not
canon.
change canon.
Okay.
Yes.
What if I am Emperor Palpatine? Can I change my
That's fair.
character?
And Emperor Palpatine will be an NPC, a non-playable character. We will have a spec sheet for him, but I will be playing Emperor Palpatine.
You're Emperor Palpatine, okay.
Just put your guns at you when you die.
Yeah.
Are we Emperor Palpatine? Nice.
This is
Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine. All right. I don't have anything.
Sounds good.
Okay, fine. That's fair. Oh, but so I do want to
Yeah.
say, Ryan, like